Hello, my name is Jimmy. I'm a child passenger safety technician and I want to show you how car seats fit in vehicles. But before I get to all of that, this is the 2023 Nissan Ariya. It is very, very exciting. I'm sure by now you know of the Nissan Leaf and that's been the staple of their electric vehicles. But this is what's going to grow the brand, and there's a lot to love here. But I feel like this is more of an Infiniti model than a Nissan model. So let me show you why, starting with the looks. On the front end here, it's distinctively Nissan, right? You got your thin LED headlamps, daytime running lamps right below that flanks the grille. The grille is actually really cool because, well, inside the grille, there's a little bit of detail there, and in the middle, an illuminated Nissan logo. On the side of the Ariya, you got 19-inch wheels. They all come with wheel covers, so depending on the trim you get, it could vary on the looks of that. You got this beautiful chrome strip from the A-pillar all the way to the end, and I love this dual tone that you have here. This color combo is actually really, really nice. You also get proximity door locks on the front door as well as the rear, so you can get easy access to the front or the rear. But what's nice is these rear doors open up almost like 90 degrees. So if you have car seats like I do, well, it's much easier to get your kiddos in the back. And another feature, well, the doors, yes, it has the proximity door locks, but you don't need them because you can walk right up to the vehicle and it can automatically unlock. And as you walk away, it can automatically lock as well. Great feature. As we go around the back, this is where you have your roof spoiler. It does slope quite a bit, so it's kind of like a coupe-like SUV. Beautiful LED tail lamps that stretch the entire width of the vehicle. The Nissan logo within the taillight, that's very Porsche-like. I mean, overall, the Ariya is just, well, it's just beautiful, isn't it? I mean, it could be the color option that this is as well, but I think it's one of the, well, better-looking EVs. It's a lot more distinctive. If I even compare this to like the Mercedes EQE SUV, this definitely has a lot more presence and style. If we open up the trunk, we get a decent amount of space, 22.8 cubic feet. It's definitely not the largest in its class, but it's decent. And being a Nissan, well, it has a few tricks within the trunk here. Taking my bag out for a sec here, and well, you can use this as a cargo divider, which is quite unique. And of course, if you're, getting groceries and whatnot, this can definitely help. But if you, for example, don't need a full flat surface and you just need something maybe a little bit taller, you can lower this down to the lower position and you get more space. Or of course, you can fold the seats 60-40 as well. Unfortunately, there's no release latch in the back. You do have to go around to, well, undo those seats. But let's check those out. All right, the back seats of the Ariya. I'm 5'11" and I got enough headroom. Knee room is good, but foot space is a little limited. The materials back here is actually really, really good as well. Like the soft touch materials on the side, quite excellent. I got heated seats, and the seats, well, they're actually really comfortable as well. I got vents and USB ports. So like it gives you all the things that you would need. And of course, there's a big panoramic sunroof here to let in plenty of light, which my son absolutely loves. Speaking of kiddos and whatnot, as I said, I am a child passenger safety technician, and I want to show you exactly how car seats fit in this vehicle. On the driver's side here, this is a Collect Link infant seat. No problems getting that in because the door does open nice and wide. Getting that infant carrier within the cabin is super easy itself. On the passenger side, this is a Collect FIMF in rear facing, very similar to the Lang, plenty of space, no real issues here. I didn't even have to move that front seat forward, so there's plenty of space within the cabin for kiddos. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to put 3 seats across here. I just didn't feel comfortable since the vehicle does have rear side airbags. I didn't want to push the seat too far forward. That may interrupt that. In terms of lower anchors, you got a set on the driver's side and the passenger side. And you got one more in the middle here that you can split with the driver's side. So depending on car seat, you may be able to use kind of those 2 anchors to have a seat in the middle and set it off to the side. As for upper anchors, there's 3 behind the bench. But let's move on to the front. All right, the front seats. I got plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom. It's actually a really nice place to be. Remember how I said this is more like an Infiniti product than a Nissan? You definitely feel it up here. These seats are just, they're superb. They really are. They just hug you in the right places, and there's even a 4-way lumbar adjustment, which is great. They are heated as well, but sadly, in this trim, not cooled. And in front of me, I got Nissan's latest steering wheel. It's a two-spoke design, which is quite different. The spokes themselves have, well, all the buttons that you would naturally need, and they're actual physical buttons. You have to press down on them. Love that. They're not capacitive, just tap buttons, which they just don't work. This, much, much better. And you got this nice stitching as well, and of course, the wheel itself is heated. It's actually a really nice design. And behind that, you got your full digital cluster. It's a full-on screen, so you can basically customize it to your heart's content. There's really two themes that you can kind of change from between this kind of like horizontal theme or the dials that you would naturally get in most vehicles. It looks good, it works well, and it has a lot of the features that you would need and functions in there as well. Everything of that is controlled through the like little jog dial here that's on the left side of the steering wheel. Above that, you do have a heads-up display. It is a colored display as well, and it can show turn-by-turn navigation. But unfortunately, the turn-by-turn is only with the built-in navigation, not when you're using CarPlay, which I've been mostly using wirelessly, which is, of course, a great feature. With wireless CarPlay, I don't have to, well, worry about cables or anything like that. Because if I did, well, the USB port is down low on the bottom here, and then I just have to leave my phone on the bottom. Whereas most of the time right now, it's either in the Qi wireless charger or in this cup holder. Going back to that infotainment, it is the latest Nissan infotainment system, and it is a little laggy. Going from menu to menu, like within the Nissan ones, it's definitely not the best, but it's acceptable. What I do like is you do get these buttons that's on the left-hand side that are stationary. So no matter which screen you're on or in Apple CarPlay or anything like that, you can easily go into your climate settings, for example, or go back home or to your music. Those buttons, well, they just stay to make things a little bit easier. Just below, you got your dedicated volume knob, and you got your hazard button and track forward and back button just beside it. It's actually a little bit hidden, and some people actually do miss those. And then you do have some dedicated touch buttons here. These are definitely not the easiest to use because you do basically have to look at them in order to actually, well, interact with them. Because there's no way you're driving down the road, you can physically remember where those buttons are. So definitely not the greatest, but it looks really cool. And then underneath that, you have a little cubby. Unfortunately, this isn't the one with the motorized cubby with the button that's in the center. That's only for the top trims. This, well, I mean, at least you still get a cubby. And you just get this nice big open space right in the center here. It's very similar to like the Ioniq 5. But the Ioniq 5, well, the middle console is slidable, but it's manual. This is electronic. So I can move it back and forward as I need. Honestly, though, I don't see a reason to move it back. Like, sure, there's more space, but I can still jump over the seats when this is all the way forward. All this does is, well, impedes the person in the middle's leg space in the back. That's really all it does. And because of this mechanism as well, you don't get that big of a storage cubby in the center. Like, it's just enough for some keys, and that's really it. I kind of wish there was more space here. Overall, this is a really nice interior. All the touch points that you would naturally touch, they're like nice and soft. Like even up here on the dash, it's just really, really nice. And that's why I say it's more Infiniti than Nissan. The only part that I would kind of say that it's definitely Nissan-like is, well, just that on the side. That's it. That's the only part that's within this cabin that I feel is a little bit more of a low rent design, more Nissan-like than Infiniti-like. So if they were actually going to make an Infiniti product out of this, they'll probably just cover that in leather, and that's really all they need to do. But before we go for a drive, let's talk about the powertrain options. This can get a little confusing. There are two battery options, a 66 kilowatt hour or a 91 kilowatt hour, but usable is only 63 and 87 respectively. You get either front wheel drive or all wheel drive. And depending on the trim you choose, it can vary on the range, the charge time, as well as the total output power. The trim that we have here is the Evolve Plus, which means we get the 91 kilowatt hour battery, usable 87. It has a 465 kilometer range, 238 horsepower, and 221 pound-feet of torque to the front wheels. And with those numbers, power is adequate. 0 to highway speeds about 7 seconds, which isn't the quickest, but it actually is a little different than what the numbers suggest. Because when you're accelerating, anything under 60 kilometers, it doesn't give you full power. It's like just limiting what you can get to those front wheels. And even with traction turned off and sport mode, you punch it at 30, 40 kilometers per hour, well, you're only getting like 70, 80% of the power. It's not until you reach 60, then you get all of it. Which actually means like when you're on the highway, it has a decent amount of acceleration because, well, you just don't feel like it's that quick off the line. It's not like a lot of other EVs that just give you full power right off the bat. Nissan just decided you don't need that. You shouldn't get that. It's weird. I mean, I pay for all the power. Give me all the power. But I mean, it's a family SUV. That's really what this is designed for. Is it comfortable? Absolutely. The suspension soaks up a lot of the bumps and it actually feels really, really good. It's not like, well, a performance-y SUV by any means. It doesn't have to be stiff. It doesn't have to like reduce body roll or anything like that. This just has to be comfortable. And it does it really, really well. And what's also really good is just the amount of isolation. It's really quiet in here. I mean, I've driven the Rogue, and that's kind of like the latest Nissan product that they put out, which has like the latest technology. And the Rogue, yes, I know it has an internal combustion engine, but that one, you still get a lot of wind noise. Maybe not a lot, but a lot more than this. This is just silent. It's not just on city streets, even on the highway, it's silent. And when you're on the highway, you can basically let Pro Pilot Assist just take it away. That is if you're in the US. Because here in Canada, we don't get the full Pro Pilot program. We only have multi-adaptive cruise as well as the lane centering. It's not the full hands-off driving that you get in the US. So sadly, we don't get all the features here. Probably because our roads are different and there's snow on it or ice or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but it sucks. Oh, one thing I do want to mention is, well, the EV part of this, because like a lot of other EVs, you need to have one pedal driving. This doesn't have like a full one pedal driving. It has what's known as E-step. And with it on, it does apply brakes, but it doesn't like fully slow you down. And when it applies brakes, that brake pedal moves. It's very similar to like the EQS that I drove not that long ago. It's a little weird in terms of kind of how that feels. I personally just left that off and been driving in normal mode. And if I need additional regenerative braking, I put it into B. And that's really it, because the E-step just feels a little weird to me. Honestly, I've been very amazed by this Ariya. I mean, I was looking at the spec sheet before I got the vehicle, and I was looking at 238 horsepower, 68,000 as spec. That's a lot of money for not a lot of power. And I mean, in the EV race, everyone is kind of going for, I have the quickest acceleration, I have the most amount of power. Well, there are definitely other vehicles with more power. This, well, as a package, it makes sense. How just the overall vehicle feels, the materials, how it drives, how quiet it is, and just, well, how everything is put together. This makes a whole lot of sense. And if I think about it a little bit differently, if I think about it as an Infiniti vehicle rather than a Nissan vehicle, then the price is, well, just darn right cheap, because you can't get a Cadillac Lyriq in this price point. You can't get the Q4 e-tron in this price point. So if I think of it as an Infiniti product, this is terrific. So there's that. But let's be honest, this isn't an Infiniti product. It's a Nissan product. And as a Nissan product at the current price, it's definitely a little bit hard to soak in. It definitely is, especially if you're going to the top range of what the Ariya can get you. Because with the all-wheel drive, the platinum trim that you get, That's like 73,000 Canadian dollars. I mean, sure, the base price with the smaller battery and front wheel drive is 55 Canadian, but I'm sure most people want to stack on a little bit more options than that. In any case, let me know what your thoughts are of the Ariya. Do you think it's the right vehicle for you? Do you think Brie Larson should continue to do commercials for Nissan? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll chat with you later. Take care.